Hello and welcome to a new podcast series with Leon John Russell, Luigi and Stephen Dean discussing from A Course in Miracles, the Manual for Teachers, and cross-referencing with the spiritual classic by Nisargadatta Maharaj, I Am That. Enjoy. Guys, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. And how are you two? Good to see us.
Hi, how's it, Leon? And hi, Steve. I'm ready to judge you both now. So let's get going.
Excellent.
Let's get judging.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that he is the judge.
Vengeance is mine, said the Lord. Don't they just love that passage?
Vengeance is mine. It just means don't you do that, I'll take care of that.
Exactly.
That's all that means. Don't bother with that. I'll worry about that. Don't mean he's going to kick your head in.
Yes.
Don't you? It means don't worry about such things. I'll worry about that kind of nonsense. You know, vengeance is mine. Don't worry. Don't upset yourself.
So, is each one to be judged in the end? Dun, dun, dun. Sounds terrifying from a Christian lens, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
As we know with A Course in Miracles, it's here to point the way via the non-dual understanding, but also there's a lot of corrective work involved in erasing misperceptions based on Christian terminology. And this one is particularly helpful for those people who do need a reframing of what Christianity has misinterpreted.
Well, it's been used as a threat for centuries, isn't it? You will be judged. You be a good person. Otherwise, God will send you to hell or chuck you in a lake of fire or some other sort of monstrosity he can think up in his all-loving way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. He's got nothing better to do with his eternity than sit around judging, has he?
No.
The thing is, when it's all said and done, before we read this, judgment doesn't even exist in oneness, because to judge something, you've got to judge something against something. When there's only one wholeness or just an energy, there's nothing to judge anything against. So judgment doesn't even exist in the real world. So therefore, it can only exist here when there's things to judge things against. And that gives you a clue of what the last judgment really is.
Right.
The last bloke here left thinking it's a dream. When he judges, wait a minute, no, it ain't. It's a dream.
Wouldn't life be totally boring if there was nothing to judge?
Well, that's the whole idea of the game, isn't it? You've got free will and choice. No, you can choose between. It's just the game.
I mean, my favorite hobby is to judge Course in Miracles students.
Don't we know
a lot
of
that goes on. We're all supposed to be one.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Let's just judge them.
Yeah, okay.
Is each one to be judged in the end? Indeed, yes. No one can escape God's final judgment. Who could flee forever from truth? But the final judgment will not come until it's no longer associated with fear. One day, each one will welcome it, and on that very day it will be given him. He will hear his sinlessness proclaimed around and around the world, setting it free as God's final judgment on him is received. This is the judgment in which salvation lies. This is the judgment that will set him free. This is the judgment in which all things are freed with him. Time pauses as eternity comes near, and silence lies across the world that everyone may hear this judgment of the Son of God. Holy are you, eternal, free and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Where's the world and where is sorrow now? Is this your judgment on yourself, teacher of God? Do you believe that this is wholly true? No, not yet. Not yet. But this is still your goal while you are here. It's your function to prepare yourself to hear this judgment and to recognize that it is true. One instant of complete belief in this, and you will go beyond belief to certainty. One instant out of time can bring time's end. Judge not, for you but judge yourself, and thus delay this final judgment. What is your judgment of the world, teacher of God? Have you yet learned to stand aside and hear the voice of judgment in yourself? Or do you still attempt to take his role from him? Learn to be quiet, for his voice is heard in stillness. And his judgment comes to all who stand aside in quiet listening and wait for him. You who are sometimes sad, sometimes angry, who sometimes feel your just due is not given you, and your best efforts meet with a lack of appreciation and even contempt. Give up these foolish thoughts. They're too small and meaningless to occupy your holy mind an instant longer. God's judgment waits for you to set you free. What can the world hold out to you, regardless of your judgment on its gifts, that you would rather have? You will be judged, and judged in fairness and in honesty. There's no deceit in God. His promises are sure. Only remember that. His promises have guaranteed his judgment, and his alone will be accepted in the end. It's your function to make that end be soon. It's your function to hold it to your heart and offer it to all the world to keep it safe.
See what it says there, God's judgment waits for you to set you free. That's the last, you know, it says throughout the book, like in the process of awakening, God takes the last step.
Mm-hmm.
So it refers to that there, like God's judgment waits for you to set you free, because the last step is after you realize that well, essentially you're dreaming and the reality isn't what you thought it was. And the last step is his confirmation or last judgment that, yes, you have been dreaming all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome home, so to speak. You know.
Yeah, for me, this is such an important understanding, because it really is addressing our greatest fear. And our greatest fear isn't just death. Our greatest fear is never having existed as a separate individual being, whether it be a physical being or a spirit being. And, that's our greatest fear. Our greatest fear is forgetting our family members, our loved ones, our life, our lives, and the experiences we've had. And our little brains, our little fractured off minds, fractures of the one indivisible mind that is dreaming, fractured off into 8 billion characters on this earth. We cannot comprehend one indivisible self. Yet, if you were to ask yourself, what am I? And return to that silent stillness within, there's no answer to what am I. Because when you're in the present moment, when you're in the here now, when you return to the awareness you are, not you don't become aware, when you return to the awareness you are, that all-knowing, all-encompassing, all-pervading beingness, there's no thought, yet there's an awareness of being, an awareness of that energy we are, that life force, the love of God we are. And even the love of God or life force is a weak symbol to describe that. But we all know what that experience feels like when we return to that all-encompassing presence. And there's all-pervading expansion that is eternal and present simultaneously. Now, where there's no thought, there's just being, there's just awareness. But our little brains and our little fractured off minds cannot compute that all-encompassing presence. And therein lies our greatest fear, is what becomes of me as the character? What about my fractured beings, my soul friends, my family, my kids, my mother, my parents, my dogs, my cats? There will be no memory of a world, of a universe, of you as a character, of you and I, people, places, things, and events. There will just be an all-pervading present awareness. And we can return to it here now, in the here and now, in total silent stillness. And there's the instruction is in this little section, be still. It's all-pervading, but our brains cannot associate it and understand it. That's where the split off is. Yet if you just return to that awareness, where's the fear? And that's that beautiful second line that says, but the final judgment will not come until it is no longer associated with fear. And it's our fear of not existing or ever having existed as a separate being that kicks the fear in. The fear kicks back in, it loops back in. And yet, what is the judgment but holy are you, eternal, free, and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Pure awareness is awareness. Atman is Brahman. Christ is God. Where is the world? Where is the sorrow now? And if we can make peace with that, if we can just accept that initially, conceptually, and then bring it into our direct experience as the awareness of awareness, the fear is relieved. And you are instantly liberated to the awareness of being. And that's so beautiful. And once that direct experience, I'm sorry for the language, it's never sufficient, but okay, we use language nevertheless to get there. But once that awareness of being is experienced, the total acceptance comes and we welcome it. So one day each one will welcome it, each fracture will welcome it. And on that very day, that moment, that timeless moment, it will be given him the awareness. He will hear his sinlessness. You'll hear it. It's again using words, but you'll be that infinite lightness of being proclaimed around the world, setting it free as God's final judgment on him is received. This is the judgment in which salvation lies. It's your release from ever having believed in anything you've thought, any experience of the past, any fear of the future. It brings you into present moment, and the awareness expands. And this is the major difference between the fundamentals of old school Christianity and taking us back to even before Christianity, to the awareness of being, before awareness got fractured to such a level that it became concept ideas and ideologies, which then became dogma. It releases all of that, brings us into primordial awareness of being. And, no matter what you think you've done, no matter what atrocity you think you've created, no matter what judgment you think you've had or thought you had, or, hey, Holy Son of God, you are still exactly the same as the instant you were created and the eternity in which you abide. And how beautiful is that? And this is really this is the judgment that sets us free, because it's a non-judgmental judgment. It's really just God's acknowledgement of his holy Son, our one indivisible self, still being perfect as the moment it was created. How beautiful.
How beautiful. I tell you what, as well, I love that, because throughout what you were saying then, I was thinking about the Nisargadatta thing. So obviously the Course will say the changeless dwelling place, the quiet center, the stately calm, the holy place where thoughts can enter not. And it used that symbolism to point you to that silent stillness that can't be contained within concepts. But Nisargadatta, what I love about what he brings to the table with his language is when he says prior to thought. So, we can think that thoughts have arisen, and
Yeah,
then when we go beyond thoughts, then we can connect with the changeless dwelling place, the quiet
sure.
center. But I always think that that thing that Nisargadatta says prior to, I think is
Yes,
really, really important pointing. And also, there's a bit of Adyashanti that came to mind then as well, where it says the self has the self, small s, has absolutely no capacity whatsoever to know anything about what's beyond self.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
Within that little closed loop that the self tries to work out its context within the eternal.
yeah. And that's the whole goal of this course is it's
Mm.
your function to prepare yourself to hear this judgment, this
Yeah.
recognition of you've never
Yeah.
changed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
Like the circle,
judgment
when you
and
came here, like you just like a circle went round and ends back where it
100%. Yeah,
started.
Yeah.
exactly.
That is just carrying on as it was.
So hear this
So,
You know.
judgment
could we
and
say
recognize
that God's
that,
judgment is actually just God's observation? Because, like you said, Lou, judgment kind of can have an
sure,
angle on it.
Well, God doesn't technically judge because he doesn't
sure,
condemn, does he? Like he doesn't forgive because he doesn't condemn.
Yeah.
He doesn't
100%.
judge because he's not within his capacity to judge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Judgment is to do with us. And I like what
yeah,
you said earlier, Lewis, about um, a fear of this. Greater than a fear of death is a fear of not knowing what happens after you die. If there's nothing after there, people
sure.
of a death fear of what might not be, like fear of
Yeah,
like of not having a soul, of not being you, just come to an end. Though I don't,
sure.
that doesn't explain atheists. Why atheists would have that kind of thought pattern, but each to his own. I mean,
Yeah,
having been kind of spiritual, I find the atheist idea a bit difficult to comprehend. But then again, they can't comprehend my spiritual idea. So, in a world of opposites, you're going to have this kind of disagreements. But it's right there what you said, like it is a fear of what might happen after death, and this church telling people are going to go to hell and all that, and it makes people not so much afraid of death, afraid of the unknown. That's
mm,
what it is. I
sure.
mean, what the course teaches us, why it takes so long to learn it, is there really is an afterlife, and there's an all-loving God, and you don't have
Sure.
to worry. No matter what happens, in the end, you will get there. It's
Yeah,
down to you how quickly you will get there.
yeah.
You know.
Look, on a side note, I absolutely love atheists, but I can only eat one at a time. So,
Hey. Oh,
the interesting thing about an atheist is there's a certain logical to it.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, I've got nothing
there's a
against them at
vengeful
all. It's
God.
just that,
Most of them are
uh,
just they cannot believe in a vengeful God. So something in
uh,
there, in their processing. But I can promise you, take an atheist and put him into an aeroplane and let it go bump. And all of a sudden
I
there's
was
a
like the
crash,
old, the old
you know.
Army thing. Like there ain't no
Sure.
atheists in a foxhole.
But
You know what I
I
mean?
promise you, it's easier for an atheist to, you see, the problem with for the atheist is the concept of a being called God, a judgmental being, and fair enough.
It's no
But
different to
for an
us with
atheist, what if God
non-duality
is
then.
just the
Yeah.
energy that travels through all of us, the awareness of being, and with enough direct experience for them, they convert to this understanding much easier than does someone who's been trapped in judgmental dogma for years, you know. The beauty of this section, and the reason it uses judgment, is because it wants us to let go of the idea of judgment.
Yeah.
And it wants to get us into the knowing, but it's still using judgment and belief as concepts to bring us into the understanding that both belief and judgments are, are, are the effect of perception. It says one instant of complete belief in this.
Mm,
And how do you have complete belief unless you have direct experience? Because you cannot tell me you have complete belief if you haven't had direct experience. You then believe in a concept.
mm,
And it says one instant of complete belief in this, and you will go beyond belief to certainty. Because once you've had the direct experience thereof, and anyone that's on the spiritual path has had that holy instant, whether they're aware it's called a holy instant or not, that out of time moment into the awareness of being, where there's an expansion, where there's something larger than this, there's something
A
greater than this.
revelation.
Yeah,
A revelation.
absolutely. And it says one instant, and this is what it's talking about, Steve. There's the revelation. One instant out of time can bring time's end. Boom. And the recognition of eternity in that holy instant. Judge not, for you but judge yourself.
Yeah.
And when do we get this? When do we realize that all our judgmental thoughts are just coming straight back at us? Why? You can only offer what you believe you are. You can only offer what you have. So when you're extending love, it's because you know you love, and everything you're extending to, you're giving to yourself. But when you're judging, you know not that you've trapped yourself in separation. So what are you offering when you judge, but the judgment of yourself on
Yeah.
your fractured selves, and thus delay this final judgment, the final, capitalized, final judgment. What is your judgment of the world? So he's asking us directly, teacher of God, you have yet to learn, to stand aside and hear the voice of judgment in yourself. So have you sat back and listened to that, the echoes of eternity that proclaims you the Holy Son, holy innocent, perfect as the day you were created? Or do you still attempt to take God's role from him? And you know better. Let's judge this teacher. Let's judge that religion. Let's judge the person who's judged you for judging. Learn to be quiet. For his voice, capital V, is heard in stillness. And heard, it's a knowing. It's not yak yak. Like I said, if you're hearing voices, you need that beautiful white jacket with the straps on the back. And his judgment comes to all who stand aside in quiet listening and wait for him. So, at least the church urges you to go to the institution at least once a week and you go and sing kumbaya, whatever the case is. What do spiritual people? Sundays are picnic days and play days and relaxed days and Saturdays and Fridays, and there's no shul and there's no. So we don't spend, as spiritual people, we do not spend time in the temple. Temple's not a building, it's the silent stillness within. And if you're not going to give time to the Lord God of your being and abide within the Lord God of your being, at least for an hour a day, and at least a couple of hours on a Sunday or on the Sabbath, whichever day you decide is the Sabbath, rest in God. It's the point of it. The Sabbath is to rest in God. So if you don't rest in God, and then now you have to listen to other Course in Miracles teachers or other spiritual teachers who hopefully have heard the voice within, share the voice within with you. Isn't it better to have that direct experience so that you do not have to believe them, but know within your being the ultimate knowing, the glimpse into eternity, the recognition of the absolute reality within yourself? Not as a dreaming mind, not as a fractured ego, because you cannot know the absolute while you're trapped in temporal dreaming. But when you return to the silent stillness within, that expansion of being, where are you but in the mind of God? And it's that direct experience. No, you'll never lose it. And the fear is instantly gone because you know that when this temporal device, the body, is finally put down, that is what remains. And now it's no longer limited by an appearance, a body-mind appearance. It now is free to be the infinite lightness of being.
And ideas never leave their source, as it says.
Absolutely.
You cannot leave the source. I can't give an idea in my head to somebody and I haven't got it anymore. The idea is in my head, and it's the same as the idea of in the mind of God. You cannot leave the mind of God. You might think you've left it, but you cannot. Incidentally, that line you read there, learn to be quiet, for his voice is heard in stillness, and his judgment comes to all who stands aside in quiet listening and waiting for him. That's what Nisargadatta says throughout his work. Just be
Absolutely.
quiet. Just
Absolutely.
be quiet. Just keep saying to yourself, I am, and just be quiet. That's his main messages throughout the work. But really, it's getting down to the simplicity of what the message really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
The stillness, grasp that stillness, that understanding. Well, it's not even an understanding, is it really? It's just
it's a presence, isn't it, that can't be contained within definitions and
well, it's not
labels
words
and
that can
concepts.
describe it. You just have to experience. It's like trying to tell somebody what a peach tastes like. You can't. You
Yeah.
have to eat a peach to find out, and it's the
That
same
word
with this.
knowing. It's that word knowing and be yourself knowingly. It's
Yeah.
it's unexplainable. It's a knowing without words. And And anyone listening to this video has had that direct experience, and you know what I'm not talking about. You know. What is it that you know? You know. Can you explain you know? No, you can't. Do you need to? No. Do you need to validate it and understand it and no, because it is your liberation, and that's the beauty of it. I love the way Christ's mind says to us, hey, you holy teacher for God, you who are sometimes sad and sometimes angry, who sometimes feels your just due is not given you, and your best efforts to fix and help others meet with a lack of appreciation, teacher for God. You just did this because you wanted attention and thought you were spiritual. And even contempt from the course students that disagree with you. Give up these foolish thoughts. They are too small and meaningless to occupy your holy mind an instant longer. God's judgment, my holy son is perfectly free, and it's the same as the moment he was created, waits for you to set you free. What can the world hold out to you, regardless of your judgments on its gifts, that you would rather have? Slap, slap. Like, you do this to yourself, Holy Son. Will you be judged, and judged in fairness and honesty, not in what you believe is judgment? There's no deceit in God, so there's no judgment in God. His promise is sure. Only remember that. So the next time you feel attacked, aggrieved, unappreciated, unloved, unrecognized, unvalidated, return to being. Return to self, return to here now, rest in God. Expand. What else do you want? You want the magic formula? You still want the magic pill? His
I rest
promises
in God.
will lead you, his judgment, and his alone will be accepted in the end. It is your function to make that end soon. Not when you die, not when you're 99.9 years old, now you're going to die. Now, that's the death of little self, the death to self, the awakening of self. Let go of your idea of yourself as a body. Let go of yourself, let go of the idea of yourself separate from, recognize you but dream, return to the awareness of dreaming, recognize you've done this to yourself, forgive yourself because God already has, because there's nothing to forgive. And every time there's anything unhappy, judgment, anxiety, angst, anger, return to being. Take a deep breath, offer gratitude, go back and play. It's so simple that we arrogantly say, oh, it's too difficult. This is such an intellectual course. It's so simple. You don't need to read
Very
1,000
simple.
books. You don't have to have done this 25 years. You just have to return to being silent, present, offer gratitude, and never take a thought seriously ever again. Boom. Look, it only took taken me 58 years, but you know.
It's taken me even longer than that. Yesterday, you talk about I rest in God. That makes a great meditation mantra.
Yeah.
You know, for those who meditate, I rest in God. And that the thing from chapter 9, is it? Like remember always you can never be anywhere except within the mind of God. That's a good one to remember. You know.
Absolutely.
So I was sitting here the other day thinking about, like, you know, the idea that I'm always comparing it to the dream. If I am actually in the dream, comparing myself to characters in my nighttime dreams, the similarities are there. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
I don't see them as solid because we think dream, though they appear solid when you're dreaming, don't they? It just seems everything here appears solid. It's
Absolutely.
really quite remarkable. You know, as
So,
it starts, just
go on, Steve.
I just if you see through the dream, if you start to consider, like when the first of all, when you first get the course and it suggests to you that it's a dream, you can't get the idea of that kind of dream sequence thing out of your head. But as you get into it, you begin to think, well, is it a dream? It does make sense that it's a dream. And you realize slowly that it does compare to our nighttime dreams, even down to the thing about having free will. But they've got
Absolutely.
free will. They do exactly what they like in your nighttime dreams. All you do is watch them. I mean, the nightmare is when they start doing things that you can't do anything about. You know, you're just watching them doing these nightmarish things. Then you wake up, oh, thank Christ for that. It's the same as an enlightenment. When you wake up from this dream, you think about all the crap that's gone on, you think, oh, thank Christ for that. It was just something that was never there. It's never real.
I did have that experience a couple of mornings ago. I woke up from such a deep sleep that the first thing that I was aware of was like, wow, I didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see, that word exist is so interesting because we think existence is life. Existence is dream existence. True life doesn't exist. God doesn't exist. You don't exist. You are. God
It's
is.
like, when do we actually exist? I mean, I've done this loads of times. Like, if I hold my hand up, you look at my hand right now, you see it, it's there now. Now it's not. If you think about it, it's just a memory. A memory isn't real, is it?
No.
So when was my hand real? Was
So
it
we
real
only
when I
exist
did
when we
that? Well, I
give
can't go back
attention.
to it now.
Yes. So existence is subject, object, and focusing externally. The
But
minute
they're
you return to
remembering it.
awareness, you either have awareness or you have existence. You cannot have both. You have the right mind or wrong mind. Wrong mind, existence, right mind, awareness. Okay.
Well, yeah, but
Semantics, and we use your word.
but the moment that it appears to exist is passes. Now it no
Sure.
longer exists. This is my hand, but in the sequence of the dream, it's long past. Like frame by frame, the frame where my hand was like that is now long gone. It's moved into a past that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't exist then, past, when did it exist? You can't, I mean, if I do it now it's existing, you can't say it's existing again. The time when it existed before is now way over there in the past, if it travels anywhere
Sure.
at all. It's never
Mhm.
real. And this stuff is so obviously around us, and we never sort of talk to look at it, never talk to question anything, you know. And so
Yeah.
I always questioned all my life that there was something strange, like, you know, I can't, why am I here? Like, you know, well, not all the time, but as I got old enough to think about things, starting off with stuff like, why do I have to go to school? I don't want to go to school. You've got to go to school. Everybody's got to go to school. Right, all right, so I have to go to school. I hate this place. And you come out now, I've got to go to work. Doing what? Well, find something you like to. Oh, right, okay. Off I go. You know, like I've done it. Also, my work was all about at school. I just wanted to do whatever I could, as you know, I want to get experience of the earth. I've had so many different jobs, from digging ditches to executive jobs to acting on stages to playing in bands. I've just done
Yeah.
fucking all sorts of stuff. You know, that's why now I've got very much a lot been there, done that attitude at 70 years old. And all I want to do now is teach this and wake up. Wake up at the degree I want to wake up. That last bit where God takes the final step. Unless I'm already there and not realizing it.
Yes. I would say that. To me, I mean, we're saying the same thing in slightly different ways, but the awareness of dreaming is already part of your makeup, which means if you're aware that you dream, then you must be already awake, letting the dream just play out. It's the tail end. But the awareness of being is already here. And once the awareness of dreaming, the awareness of being, same thing, different words. Um, what else is there to do but to share this knowing now in the simplest way you can, but not just yappy yap, but living it. And that's what's so direly, so necessary, so desperately necessary in this world is to not just blah 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 and be spewing forth spiritual quotes, but to truly show up and be the face of Christ to your
Yeah,
brothers, bring the smile back onto their face, lift them from their illusionary suffering, which feels very real to them at the moment, as it did for us when we went through this. But just bring that presence of joy into every possible moment.
Yeah.
Um, you know, your experience was, what the hell am I doing here? My experience was, beep, God, what that beep were you doing? I'm beeping it out for you, Leon, so you don't have to do it afterwards. But like, why does that little buck have to die screaming its lungs out now while the lion's busy eating it? Why did you make animals eat animals? If you were God, couldn't you just create things that they could live without eating each other? You know? And that it was the cruelty of nature, which the naturist will tell you, oh, it's just nature. Have you really looked at nature? And as a child, I grew up in the bush and watching leopard eat baboon and leopard, and lion eating gazelle. And I just like, no, man, this isn't right. Something's wrong here. Surely a loving God would create things that wouldn't need to kill each other. Worst case scenario, make them vegetarians.
It's a
But,
mistake.
and then of course the
Good,
vegetarians
sorry.
do
Sorry, good.
that fruit feel pain when you eat it. But the point is, why does some sentient being have to get eaten? And I love the spiritual person that tells you, oh, but the little buck's not suffering. Shut the fuck up. How do you know? Have you ever been a buck? You know, have you ever watched the mommy buck cry
What?
when the little baby?
Well,
Have you
you
watched the
know,
mother elephant cry when the little calf is dying? Have you watched the lion mourn the death of a little cub? Have you ever watched close enough when you watch a, don't tell me that nothing suffers when it's getting eaten because it doesn't suffer the way you do. Animals don't suffer like humans. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Go and experience it firsthand. Don't tell me a loving God would do that. And that was I must say,
but
I'll tell you, as I was, if you think I'm grumpy now, you should have seen me as a teenager and a young kid. I was pissed off with God. I wanted nothing to do with God. I didn't like this character. And I didn't like anyone that represented God because that meant you believed that was okay, you know. And I really I struggled with it. And then I met some American Indian tourists that came to South Africa, and they were telling me, as long as you're blessing your food and you're forgiving the animal for allowing you to think that you suffer, and just realize it as part of the makeup, as spirit calls you to awaken, that made sense. It didn't make the empathy I felt for the dying animals go away. Um, but what a beautiful way to the realization of existence versus being. And that's when I realized the story we've told ourselves is not possibly true, because if God of the Bible is indeed true, I want nothing to do with him.
Mhm.
Because true God isn't the Anunnaki, the Nephilim that the Bible writes about, the vengeful Elohim, that warred amongst each other and warred against man and took tribes and had favorites and demanded that people obey. If they didn't obey and they didn't have certain incense in the room, they would just be burned to a pulp. That could not be God. And it was that beautiful anger that this can't be that made me look for another way. And it took a few years, but eventually the non-dual started to come through. And I mean, Advaita Vedanta, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I'd read all of these, the I Ching, and I'd gone down those paths. But something was missing. And then the Course in Miracles came and showed us true forgiveness, which is ultimately you're dreaming this. And you're forgiving yourself first and foremost for having imagined that God could abandon you and you could be separated from source. And secondly, forgive yourself for the realization in absolute reality, this has never happened. And that's when the total forgiveness kicks in and the awareness of being returns. Returns, it's always been there. But the
well,
obstacle that
Quality of
prevented
God.
the awareness of being from being the awareness of being, those are dissolved in the light of awareness, and we return to being. Wow. It's wow.
that very
And we'll
much reflects my own experience, you know. Sorry to interrupt if
Hmm.
you're still gonna, but I wasn't brought up to be religious, but I became baptized Catholic in order to marry my first wife in a church when I was how old was I? Fucking 33, I think, and I got baptized Catholic and I started going to church and all that. And that was my first real experience in my 30s of going to church. But after a while, I realized there's something wrong with this God they're worshipping. You know, he's supposed to love me dearly, but he's quite happily chucked me into a lake of fire if I don't live up to his very exacting standards. Something isn't adding up here, you know. And I like the Lord's Prayer. I like that and the other stuff, which I heard about that in school. But I drifted away from the Catholic Church. I just couldn't. I was just singing the choir and everything. I really got into it to start with. And I love the Catholic Church. You know, the people go are great, you know, but there's something seriously wrong with the way they depict what God is. You
Hmm.
know, they seem to be like he's going to punish you. He's going to. No, he won't. And that's why in the Course of Miracles, when I started reading it, realised they're talking about a genuinely all-loving God. Then I thought, well, this is what I'm looking for. You know, and that's how I got into it, pulled me in because I realised that God in that is the sort of God that I know must exist somewhere, and it's talking about it in a realistic way, a grabbable way. Oh, before I forget, you're saying about animals being killed, like leopards bringing down a baboon screaming its head off, which undoubtedly it would. You know, years ago, I read apart from the memoirs of David Livingstone, Dr. Livingstone, I presume you've heard of him, the explorer. Well, apparently in his memoirs, he was out hunting lions, right? And one of them come up from behind, he jumps on top of him and held him down. And he was looking up at his big tawny face. And he said, and I thought, well, I'm never going to get out of this. And it's all of a sudden, he said, I stopped feeling afraid and I actually started wondering, well, I'm going to get eaten. There's nothing I can do about it. I wonder what part of me is going to eat first. Then somebody shot it and somebody shot him and it fell on top of him dead. And he said, what? He said, I never knew that I would become, because I thought I would, like if you're getting brought down by a lion, I would react very differently. But once I realised I couldn't get away, I started wondering how he's actually going to go about eating me, and oh, well, here I go, lion's lunch. So I don't know, perhaps there is some kind of psychological off button that happens when such a thing happens, when you realise it's like that bloke, just slightly going off the subject, that bloke who, during the war, he was a tail gunner in a Lancaster bomber, I think it was, over Germany, and the whole thing was on fire, and his parachute was on fire, and he kicked away the turret he was in and just fell out into space with his. And he knew he ain't going to survive. He's falling thousands of feet. And he said, I just like everything just shut down. It was like, okay, I'm not going to survive this. And he just went to sleep, falling through the air. And he woke up in a snowbank. What had happened? He fell down. He bounced off these snow-covered fir trees off different branches, and he fell into a deep snowdrift. And woke up with a load of German soldiers looking at him, pointing their rifles at him. And they put him in a prisoner of war camp. But they signed a piece of paper saying, yes, he could only have come out of the air. He fell out of the air. Yeah. But he fell while he was falling, he realised he couldn't survive, and just everything sort of shut down. And he went, all right, good night. And just went to sleep. So your body sort of kind of, in certain circumstances, your body starts to prepare for the impending end.
I'm going to lift something from a course to combine what both of you have been saying. Give all you can and give a little more. For now we would arise in haste and go unto our Father's house. We've been gone too long, and we would linger here no more. And as we practice, let us think about all things we saved to settle by ourselves and kept apart from healing. Let us give them all to him who knows the way to look upon them so that they will disappear. Truth is his message. Truth his teaching is. His are the lessons God would have us learn. Each hour, spend a little time today and in the days to come in practicing the lesson in forgiveness in the form established for the day. Try to give it application to the happenings the hour brought, so that the next one is free of the one before. The chains of time are easily unloosened in this way. Let no 1 hour cast its shadow on the one that follows, and when that one goes, let everything that happened in its course go with it. Thus will you remain unbound in peace, eternal in the world of time. This is the lesson God would have you learn. There is a way to look on everything that lets it be to you another step to him and to the salvation of the world. To all that speaks of terror, answer thus: I will forgive, and this will disappear. To every apprehension, every care, and every form of suffering, repeat these self-same words, and then you hold the key that opens heaven's gate and brings the love of God, the Father, down to earth at last to raise it up to heaven. God will take this final step himself. Do not deny the little steps he asks you take to him.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. As a Nisargadatta says, you've got to ripen like a melon, not melon, a mango. You got to ripen. You can't hurry up the process. You got to take those little steps. Yeah, God takes the final steps.
Hmm.
Yeah, no matter where you are at this particular moment in time, every step you took getting here was important. You know.
And with your thing that you like to do with your hand, and where is it, and blah blah blah, to
Yeah.
look at that through this lens of how to move through hour to hour, just to sort of break that journey through time into manageable steps, and to give a visualization of a way of like gradually cleaning that lens so that there's no dust left from the previous hour to obscure the way you see in the next moment. And by removing the past, then this is what we're talking about. It's like presence.
Mm.
If you're not working from memory, or as the course likes to say, the present memory, which is absolutely beautiful use of words, you are present. And when you
Mm.
are present, you are being. And when you are being, you have collapsed the belief in the subject object paradigm, which is consciousness.
Yeah,
And you're bringing some of the light of your awakened mind into the dream. And also, I liked what you were saying earlier, Lou, about the simplicity of defining being awake. So that
sure.
if somebody's going, God, have I had an awakening? Oh, I don't know if I've had it. It's like just strip it right down to like, did you ever have a moment where you just thought, I wonder if this is everything? It's like, there you go. That was it. That was the glimmer of light that came in that said, ah,
The moment you asked, the first moment you asked, what am I? That's your awakening. Because there's already a recognition I'm not this thing I appear to be. That's it. The awakening has started. Now, it appears to be, it's going to appear like you're going to go through a period of time. You was asleep, and then all of a sudden I realized, okay, what am I? And at some stage you think you're going to awaken. Hey, turn it on its side. You're always here. No matter how you travel down this spiral into nowhereness, you're always here. You're here now.
mm,
And it's only your doubt, which is your ego, which is the filters of belief, which are programming, which are learned, because learning isn't a requirement in awareness. It's only a requirement in existence. Because what is learning but the returning to awareness?
Mm.
So the fact that you're here listening to this, or had the first question, the fact that you believe in a God, whether it be a God outside you or a God within you, is already the awakening sequence. The Big Bang, the beginning of the universe, is actually the beginning of our awakening. Because first there was just eternity. And we have no idea what happened before that, but there was that little spark, and the spark is the return. And the experience of the universe is the returning to, because we're using space time matter to recognize the unreal and return to the awareness of being. And that's why, again, it's this belief in, so and so enlightened. No, there's no enlightened body, no matter what their name was, Jesus, Ramana Maharishi, or Lujipu. No enlightened being. Okay. Aware of self, yes. Awakened to self, yes. But enlightened. What is that? The mind is enlightened. Our collective mind is enlightening. Our collective mind awakens. The character doesn't awaken. The character just realizes I'm just a character. That's it.
mm,
That is enlightenment. Now you have to bring that awareness of being, awareness of dreaming into the direct experience, which means let go, let go, let go. Instead of judging and resisting the present moment, accept what is. Recognize there's a better way to see this, rules for decision. If I have no thought of myself, if I don't imagine a day, if I don't expect it something, this is the day that'll be given me. What's the day? A day of solid stillness, no thought, no peace, no attack thought. And when I'm in there, in that present moment awareness, when I am the present moment awareness, what is the inevitable? There's a lifting, there's the stillness of being rising. And what is it that when peace and stillness rises, what do you experience it as? Joy. And what is the natural tendency for being to do when there's joy? Gratitude. And gratitude does what? It accelerates joy. Gratitude begets gratitude. And what is given to all is given. What is given to one is given to all. And so as you extend that gratitude, you are it, and and it reciprocates. Not because of law of reciprocity, because being is now in a joyous state of being. So what does the future hold? Well, besides the fact that there isn't a future, it's just more of the present moment awareness. So what appears to be future, as you extend this joyous lightness of being, is more lightness of being. You've all had that day where you bump your toe and then you spill your coffee, then you spill your breakfast on your shirt and you have to change it, then your car won't start, and then there's traffic, and then some A-type soul bumps into you, and then the policeman pulls you over, gives you a traffic fine, and you haven't even got to work yet. And you're thinking, what the hell? You've all heard the stories. One aeroplane
Yeah,
crashes, and
we've
two
all
hours later,
lived them.
another aeroplane crashes, and then another aeroplane crashes. Or there's a train wreck, and 2 days later, there's another train wreck, and 3 days later, there's another train wreck. And you're thinking, can you not see the pattern? When you start putting attention into what can go wrong,
It
more
goes
of what
wrong.
can go wrong reciprocates into your conscious awareness. I can promise you right now, somewhere in the world, there's a train crashing. But you hear of 3 train crashings when you focus your attention on the first train crash. Right now, somewhere in the world is an airplane that's just crashed. But pay attention to one airplane crash, and you become aware of another two, three, four. Why? Because the minute you go into it, the minute you pay attention to what isn't true, the minute you resist what isn't true becomes your experience. What
It
you
become
resist is the. How many people you all know that crazy lady that talks to her car, and you know that car shouldn't be running. She hasn't had an oil change in 12 years. She puts diesel instead of petrol. The thing shouldn't start. She hasn't changed tires in 18 years. The car hasn't been washed. There's something growing on the back seat. And you think, how on earth does that thing work? She talks to the car. She tells the car how wonderful it is. She loves her car. And what does her car do? It gives her mileage. Then you've heard the guy's just bought a brand new, whatever, German saloon with 16 doors and 25 seats and just about a hovercraft, and the thing breaks down every second week. Why? Because of the anger, the resistance, the what is not living out his expectations, and everything he touches is going to react that way. It's all you, Holy Son of God. How many smacks on the back of the head does Jesus need to give you before you figure this out?
What you were saying there about like bringing negative stuff on you. This happened to me years ago, and I made a video about it. Right. What's that? Right. When I first got a smartphone in America, I should take it out with me, but keep getting it out in the supermarket and looking at it and putting it back and looking at it. I'm sick of this. I don't want to keep looking at my phone all the time. So one day, after a couple of weeks of having a smartphone, I thought, well, we were going to go out and do a bit of shopping, and I thought, well, I'll leave it at home. I've no reason for me to take it out. And I thought, there isn't reason at all why I shouldn't need this phone when I go out. Nobody ever rings me. I don't do anything except look at it, leave it at home. So I left it home and off we went. Now, I wanted to get some rooibos tea because I like rooibos tea. Now, you can only buy rooibos tea in the whole food world shop, right? So off we go there. Walk in, got any rooibos tea? Yeah, we got some. In fact, we got it on special offer. Have you?
Okay.
Oh, okay then. All right then. My missus said, well, I've got an account here. Can I use my phone to get the special offer? I said, no, you can't because it's only for new customers. Your husband got his phone on him. I'll make him a new customer. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I thought it was a smartphone, not a stupid phone.
It's so. Well, I was thinking about it. When I was thinking about what could happen to make me use the phone, I projected out a possibility.
Yeah.
So, because that's never happened before. I didn't expect that to happen. Nobody called me. But a situation arose that I couldn't possibly have foreseen. And I didn't have the phone, and I didn't get me 50% off or whatever it was.
That'll teach you to
but
drink
anyway,
tea.
I like rooibos tea. I still do to this day. It's South African, actually, isn't it, rooibos?
Yes. Yeah, it's a common tea. Yeah. We give it
That's why people avoid it, because it's from South Africa.
We give rooibos tea to the cats. It's like a common garden variety tea. Goes in the back garden.
Your cat drinks Red Bush. Oh, that's all right. Well, let's see if we can get her down from the roof. I'll give her a cup of that, see if that makes any difference.
Hey, if I leave a cup of rooibos tea lying around, my Christopher just loves it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
some
weird
cats are
thing.
quirky like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like our one stuck up on the roof in the last 3 days. We've got to get her down yet. God knows what's frightened her. I got
Oh,
on the ladder and got up there yesterday, but she wouldn't,
Yeah.
she wouldn't let me bring her down. She's still
Yeah.
up there now.
Well,
Anyway, I'll sort that
she's
out
had a
later.
she's had the male Satan come visit her, try and pregnate
Something's happened there.
her.
He's up on top of the chimney stack.
Hey, so Leon, what else
Anyway,
does Nurse Data have to say? You know.
oh yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I was just going to just also add about compassion as well to what we were talking about the
Mhm.
simplicity of defining awakening as just like that moment of saying, what am I? Just that tiny little glimmer of
Mm.
allowing another thought into the mind rather than being consumed by the dream. And then the evolutionary relationship with that thought, however it plays out for you, whether it's with A Course in Miracles or whether it's not with A Course in Miracles or blah, blah, blah. At some point, it will expand to its natural inclusion of compassion. And that's probably relevant to whether or not you are studying a spiritual system or not. And sometimes people get caught in a trap more because they are studying a spiritual system than people who are just naturally connecting to the kindness within themselves without looking for some payoff in the afterlife.
Mhm.
But the compassion that grows from the engagement of realizing that there are people around you everywhere who haven't had that thought, what am I? They haven't punctured their dreaming minds yet. Our compassion, like I said last time about the Ramana Maharshi thing, where he said, I I weep with the weeping, I sing with those who are singing, I laugh with those who are laughing. And the picture he was painting was to meet people where they are without trying to go in to the situation with some sort of holier than thou kind of stance. And compassion is the way. We know it with Jesus hung out with the people who needed compassion. We do that. We don't have to use the words with anyone to say, hey, you're dreaming, I'm not. That's
Mhm.
bullshit.
Absolutely.
But what we do is at the level of mind, which is the real level of what's going on here, we do what Jesus did, which was he saw the face of Christ in all of his brothers. He
Yes.
refused to have his perception stop at the point of form. And we know that the Course says there's nothing more blinding than perception of form. And that's a very, very definitive statement. There is nothing more blinding than perception of form. It's not mincing the words at all. Um, so we meet people where they are, whether they're crying, whether they're laughing, whether they are aware or unaware of their being. And just with our presence of being connected to that present memory of the knowing that
Mhm.
we are outside of what appears to be happening at the truest, the only level, you can say the truest, but at the only real level. And that's how we bring light, the extension of light, into the dream so that people can recognize it and be around it.
Mhm.
Compassion.
Or it's like Ken Wapnick said, metaphysics, schmetaphysics, just be kind.
Yes.
It's just about being kind.
Well, the word compassion to me is so beautiful. Split it up. The word com in Portuguese will be with, means with.
With
So
passion, yeah.
compassion means with passion. So, and the word passion, pass I on. Compassion is to truly pour your being into all of it. Because if you recognize I but dream a dream, where I've fractured myself, if I'm judging a character I've dreamt up, I judge myself. So if I
Yeah,
how do I
exactly.
condone an apparent evil deed by a fractured part of my, I can't do that. Someone that's, hurt someone or harmed someone or harmed a child. I can't. Okay, but what I can do is recognize I but dream.
Mm.
Imagine this character. The essence of that character is the same essence as me. That which animates the character. God is the light with which I see. God is the light, the energy essence with which characters are animated. The identity of the character, the appearance of the character, that's all dream, content, existence, ego. So the essence is myself. So how do I remind that character which believes it's real and has forgotten that it is the essence energy I am? How do I remind it that it's that non-judgment? I see that as holy, holy, pure, unadulterated energy, God essence. And in that recognition, I now know myself to be that. And that's what lights up the light of the world, the light of awareness. And that's it. They don't need to change. They don't need to change the being is one indivisible self. And all appearances are shifting. The world is a much lighter place than it's ever been. And every moment in time that it appears to go on, it's getting lighter and lighter. Now, of course, we've got internet news and we think it's worse than it's ever been before. The war in the Gaza Strip, the battle between the North and the South, and it's the same. It's been going on for years. It was way more vicious, way more cruel, and people get away with a lot less nowadays. They still get away with murder, but they get away with a lot less than they did 2,000 years ago.
It's very true.
So we are enlightening our dreaming mind by bringing this into awareness. The beauty of this, though, is a new world will be shown us, a new earth. How's that? You could live here. Now, you've seen it, videos of TV, war-torn countries, the kids are running around, playing, laughing, because in their untainted perception, they play, whatever they play, doctor, whatever they play. We're just seeing war-torn countries and disaster. They're just seeing a childlike imagination. That's what happened. And from my own direct experience, I don't remember when last I got angry at someone, that I really wanted to punch them upside the head, which was a regular occurrence for me in my 20s and 30s. I haven't hit anyone in what, 3 days?
It's amazing how it drains out of your soul.
And that's because you've been
All-time
asleep,
record.
haven't you? You've been
Yeah.
asleep for
So,
3 days.
yeah. So, it's take it from someone who saw the world as vengeful and was constantly on the lookout for danger and couldn't leave home without 2 firearms and a bulletproof jacket and was expecting to see it and did. Now, like I said, old ladies come up to me and grab me by my cheek and a reminder of Robert Downey Jr. or something, an Iron Man, and can I take a photograph with the nephew? And it's our life. How people smile.
You give it off a good vibe, man. That's what it
That's
is.
what's changed. Is
You give it off a good vibe.
I now identify with being, as opposed to this character, this identity label, blah blah. All of that goes. Now, of course, there's still some people that are going to see me as angry. They're going to see me as whatever they need to see me as. I can't change that.
Mm.
I mean, we all speak of Jesus as this most incredible character. We have this incredible love for our brother Jesus, right? Well, guess what? Back in the day of Jesus, there were people that absolutely hated him. The sight of Jesus made them want to puke and get angry and whip him to death. Is that got to do with Jesus not seeing everybody as loving? No. Fractured parts of ourself, unaware of being, will still act as fractured parts of ourselves. And so imagine the worst character in our history, space-time history. Okay, the character Hitler. Imagine the anger you had towards him when you were still trapped in judgment and complete anger and hatred. You hated the character. Some people hated Jesus in the same way. Does that mean that Jesus didn't see them as loving? No. He just looked at them and had no judgment. And you can be
Forgive
like,
them because
can
they
be
don't
like,
know, forgive them because they don't know what they do. That's what he meant. They don't know what they're doing. They're just people in a dream, basically. They're
or
just following a script sort of thing.
sure. Or did he really say that? Or did he say, forgive me, Father, for thinking that they judged me?
Well, I don't know what he said, really. I'm just going by what's written down. I don't know what he said.
Well, let's wrap this up by just echoing the pointing towards the judgment that isn't the ego judgment before we look at some Nisargadatta. So in this section, just to repeat that prayer, and it just says, holy are you, eternal, free and whole, at peace forever in the heart of God. Where is the world and where is sorrow now?
Mm.
And the context, the flexibility of the interpretation of the context of this, it's giving you a clear picture. You're holy, you're eternal, you're free, you're whole, you're at peace forever in the heart of God.
Mm.
If you consider all that, where's the world? Where is sorrow now? Doesn't feature in that holy, eternal, free, peaceful state of being in the heart of God. So let's have a look at what Mr. Gadata Maharaj, Sri Nisargadatta, Mr. Gadata, no, something, he should have had a normal name like Dave or something, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Dave Maharaj.
Yeah, well, he should have dropped the surname as well, Dave Smith. I Am That talks with Dave Smith.
But there is a journalist called Dave Smith, come to think of it, but I don't think
I doubt there's anyone called Dave Smith in the world, Steve. Come on. That's a stretch,
there's a journalist called Dave Smith. I know of a journalist called Dave Smith.
It's way
But I
too
think
rare.
he tends to report on different sorts of things anyway.
That's way too rare. It can't be. We're told of the bliss of non-duality. Such bliss is more in the nature of a great peace. Pleasure and pain are the fruits of actions, righteous and unrighteous. What makes the difference? The difference is between giving and grasping. Whatever the way of approach, in the end, all becomes one. If there be no difference in the goal, why discriminate between various approaches? Let each act according to his nature. The ultimate purpose will be served in any case. All your discriminations and classifications are quite all right, but they do not exist in my case. As the description of a dream may be detailed and accurate, though without having any foundation, so does your pattern fit nothing but your own assumptions. You begin with an idea and you end with the same idea under a different garb. Well, how do you see things? One and all are the same to me. The same consciousness appears as Sat and Chit and Ananda. Sat is bliss, Chit is the movement, and Ananda is motionless in being. Still, you're making a distinction between motion and motionless. Non-distinction speaks in silence. Words carry distinctions. The unmanifested has no name. All names refer to the manifested. It's useless to struggle with words to express what is beyond words. Consciousness is spirit. Consciousness is matter. Imperfect spirit is matter. Perfect matter is spirit. In the beginning, as in the end, all is one. All division is in the mind. There is none in reality. Movement and rest are states of mind. and cannot be without their opposites. By itself, nothing moves, nothing rests. It's a grievous mistake to attribute absolute existence to mental constructs. Nothing exists by itself. You seem to identify rest with the supreme state. There is rest as a state of mind, and there is rest as a state of being.
Yes.
The former comes and goes, while the true rest is the very heart of action. Unfortunately, language is a mental tool and works only in opposites. As a witness, are you working or at rest? Witnessing is an experience, and rest is freedom from experience. Can't they coexist as the tumult of waves and the quiet of the deep coexist in the ocean? Beyond the mind, there is no such thing as experience. Experience is a dual state. You cannot talk of reality as an experience. Once this is understood, you will no longer look for being and becoming as separate and opposite. In reality, they are one and inseparable, like roots and branches of the same tree. Both can exist only in the light of consciousness, which again arises in the wake of the sense I am. This is the primary fact. If you miss it, you miss all.
Reminds me of that maxim he's got about experiencing. Like you got, there's only experiencing or dreaming. There's only experiencing. There's no experienced or experiencer. The experiencer and the experience can't be done without the experiencing. The experiencing includes the experiencer and the experienced. The other two can't work without experiencing. So really, they're all one. That's one of his maxims, pointing towards the oneness of what it all really is. There's only experiencing or dreaming. There's no dreamer and the dreamed. There's only the dreaming. And if you ally it to experiencing, you get a closer idea of what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a
The
clever
beauty there
bloke.
as well is the subtlety of what he's trying to explain. You see, the questioner, the person asking the question, wants to pull the whole thing apart, dissect it. So hang a second, when you're resting, is there no movement? And he's saying the subtleness of it. When you rest as awareness, you're pouring yourself into all of it. But it's not a doing as in physicality doing. And it's even beyond state of mind. Because state of mind obviously means that there's a state and then a non-state. It's just so subtle because in the awareness of being, if awareness is all there is, if God is all there is, if oneness is all there is, what are you aware of? So he's bringing us into that, just shut up, just go quiet, just return to rest as in stillness. And then he addresses that fear as well, because the stillness, the rest, isn't just boring. I'm bored. There is a dynamic, there's no word, essence to it, but it is everything you've ever wanted. Now, don't try and imagine it because experience is still in duality.
Yeah.
But the glimpse into it, the echo of eternity, the tiny eternal moment now, which is forever, once you've experienced it, what other word do we use while we're using words, while we're in duality? That experience brings you to the awareness of being, and you won't have any more of these silly questions. But the questioning is the undoing, because it's the netty, not this, not that, not this, not that.
Excellent. And doesn't that strengthen the use of language with the course where it'll say heaven's not a place or a state or a condition.
Yeah.
It's an awareness of perfect oneness.
Yes. Beautiful. Hey?
Mm.
And even that idea of God takes the final step, there's no step. God isn't taking anything and taking anything away from you, not giving you anything, not bringing you in. But we're using symbols, language, stories to dissolve any need for, first of all, judgment, separation, stories.
It's the last step, as we understand steps to be.
Yeah.
After then, there is no more steps.
The
Steps no
stepless
longer
ladder.
exist.
So what do you call a stepless ladder? Two poles side by side.
Two poles.
North Pole and the South Pole.
The rungless ladder.
Inefficient.
Beautiful, guys. This was a good one.
That was good. Okay.
Awareness of dreaming. That's it. That's the closest we'll ever get. You'll get to that realization, that awareness you dream. And now what? No, nothing. Go play. Keep playing until there's no
I
desire.
know everything around me is made out of God. What's it made of, Stephen? It's made out of God. I know it is. I know it is. It's just stuff with names, but it's made out of God.
Yeah.
It's like made of dream stuff. What are people in your dreams made out of? Dream stuff. Well,
Yeah.
this is all made out of dream stuff as well.
It's
Because
just
us being
stuff.
in the dream, it all feels solid.
It's all just stuff. What stuff?
Stuff.
Nothing.
It's this stuff. Yeah. Anyway.
Brilliant.
Well, that was a great chat. I very thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Right.
Go forth with compassion.
And do not multiply.
Not at this age.
All right.
No more stay.
Okay. We off. I'll see ya. Musty. Thanks everybody for attending our show. I'll see you.
Cheers, guys.